It's kind of hard to wrap your head around, right? An empire literally tearing itself to pieces, just bleeding out after a century of nonstop civil war. And then, imagine that same empire, almost overnight, turning into this incredible model of peace and prosperity, an era that would last for 200 years. We're talking about the Pax Romana, the legendary Roman peace. The big question is, how did they pull it off?
Yeah, before this golden age, there was just chaos. Absolute chaos. The source material doesn't mince words. It calls it 100 years of revolution, civil war, and devastation. And we're not just talking about a little political instability here. No, this was a society teetering right on the edge of complete and total collapse.
You see, the old system, the Roman Republic, the one that had conquered the entire Mediterranean, it was completely broken. It just wasn't working anymore. You had these incredibly ambitious generals using their armies not to fight Rome's enemies, but to fight each other. The streets of Rome itself were literally running with blood. The whole dream of the Republic, it had turned into an absolute nightmare.
So, it all begs the question, right? How in the world did Rome pull itself back from the brink? How did it create this incredible era of peace, the Pax Romana, that people would look back on for centuries? Well, the answer, as it so often does, starts with one guy.
And that man was Octavian. Now, after he finally defeated all his rivals, he comes back to Rome. But he's smart. He doesn't roll in saying, "I'm the new boss." No, he says he's here to restore the Republic. That's his whole line. See, he knew the Romans absolutely hated the idea of a king. So he had to get creative. He had to invent a whole new way to hold power.
And this is where you see his political genius, his branding, really. He never ever called himself a king. Instead, he takes the title princeps, which just means first citizen. It makes him sound like he's just one of the guys, you know? But, and this is the important part, he also holds the title imperator, or commander, and that gave him total, unquestioned control of the army. It was an absolutely masterful move. He had all the power of a king, but it was all hidden behind the language of the old republic.
Okay, so with his power totally secure, the man we now call Augustus lays out this brilliant blueprint for a stable empire. It was basically a three-part strategy, and it was designed to fix every single thing that had caused the chaos of the last 100 years.
So what was this plan? Well, it had three main pillars. Number one, secure the frontiers and stop the endless wars. Number two, organize a government that could actually run this massive empire. And number three, rebuild Rome itself into a glorious capital, a real symbol of this new age.
So let's tackle that first point, securing the frontiers. Augustus basically said, okay, we're big enough. He set up clear, easy-to-defend borders, along big rivers like the Rhine and the Danube and the Sahara Desert. Then, he created a professional, full-time army. But here's the genius move. He stationed those legions on the frontiers, way out on the edge of the empire. This wasn't just about defense. It was a political masterstroke. It kept the ambitious generals and their armies far, far away from the political center in Rome, which stopped the civil wars before they could even start.
And that brings us to that other pillar of his plan, rebuilding the capital. Augustus had this famous saying that he found Rome a city of brick and left it a city of marble. And he wasn't kidding. He kicked off these huge public works projects, building incredible spaces like the Forum you see here. It became the magnificent heart of a global superpower. It was a very clear physical message to everyone. The age of chaos is over. A new, grander age has begun.
And you know what? The system Augustus built was so good, so effective, that it kept working long after he was gone. But the emperors who came after him, they had a big question to wrestle with. Should we keep expanding the empire, or is it better to just consolidate and defend what we've already got?
And you can see this debate play out perfectly in the reigns of two of the greatest emperors that followed, Trajan, the expansionist, and his successor, Hadrian, the guy who wanted to consolidate.
Okay, so first up is Trajan. This guy was a military genius, and he was all about expansion. He pushed the empire's borders out to their absolute limit. He conquered Dacia, which is basically modern-day Romania, and pushed way out into the east. Under Trajan, the Roman Empire was bigger than it had ever been before or ever would be again.
But then, right after him, comes Hadrian, and he takes a completely different tack. He looked at the map and basically said, whoa, we're overstretched. He actually pulled back from some of Trajan's new territories in the east and decided to focus on building permanent defenses, like the famous Hadrian's Wall up in Britain. His goal wasn't about getting more land, it was about locking down what they already had for good.
Now, it's super important to remember that this piece wasn't just about soldiers and walls. Remember that third part of Augustus's original blueprint?
Organizing the government? Well, his successors absolutely perfected it. Emperors like Hadrian started creating government departments, kind of like the ones we have today. They professionalized tax collection, getting rid of the corrupt old system, and, maybe most importantly, they created a single, unified legal code that applied to everyone, from Britain all the way to Egypt. It really made it feel like one single nation.
Okay, so we've got all this peace, this stability, this pretty impressive government. But what did that actually mean for the average person living through it? What was life really like inside the Pax Romana? Well, first, let's just talk about the sheer scale. At its peak, the Roman Empire was home to maybe 100 million people. I mean, that's just a staggering number for the ancient world. You're talking about this incredible tapestry of different cultures, languages, and religions all living together, more or less peacefully, under one government.
So how do you even connect an empire that massive? Well, with some of the most incredible engineering the world had ever seen. They built this amazing network of stone-paved roads that let armies, trade goods, and messages travel at a speed that Europe wouldn't see again until the invention of the railroad. And then you have the aqueducts, these massive structures bringing fresh water into the cities, which allowed them to grow into huge, bustling centers of civilization.
And life in those cities? It was vibrant. Thanks to incredible sites like Pompeii, which was perfectly preserved under volcanic ash, we can see exactly what it was like. Even a regular small town in the provinces had paved streets, shops, public fountains, even theaters. This wasn't just prosperity for the capital, it was an age of widespread urban life.
And my gosh, the architecture. The Romans were absolute masters, and they built things to last. Just look at the Pantheon in Rome. That giant concrete dome, it's still the largest unreinforced concrete dome on the planet, almost 2,000 years later. It's just a breathtaking testament to their engineering genius.
And of course, there was the entertainment. The state put on spectacular shows for the people. The Colosseum in Rome could hold almost 50,000 spectators. I mean, that's the size of a major modern stadium. It's just incredible. So all of these things, the roads, the cities, the amazing buildings, the entertainment, they were the real tangible benefits of having 2 centuries of peace.
So, for 2 whole centuries, this system was a stunning success. It created a world with a level of prosperity and stability that was just unheard of. But, as we all know, no golden age lasts forever. And just beneath the surface of all this peace and quiet, new forces were starting to bubble up that would challenge the very foundations of the Roman world.
I mean, let's not downplay the achievement. It was absolutely undeniable. The Pax Romana had unified the entire Mediterranean world into a single entity, something that had never been done before and has never been done since. It created this shared civilization with common laws, common infrastructure, and a booming economy.
But as I said, things were changing underneath it all. For one, scientific progress kind of stalled out. You had brilliant minds like Ptolemy, but they were mostly summarizing old knowledge, not making brand new discoveries. And maybe even more importantly, the very beliefs of the people were shifting. The old Roman gods just weren't cutting it for a lot of people anymore. They started turning to these new, more personal faiths coming from the East, like the worship of Isis or Mithras, and of course this new religion called Christianity. They offered a totally different kind of hope.
So you have this world, this Roman peace that seemed absolutely invincible, a marvel of engineering, of law, of military power. It looked like it would last forever. But with these powerful new ideas reshaping the hearts and minds of its people, you have to ask, a world built on peace seems so strong. What could possibly bring it all down?